The Church of Saint Polycarp, built between 1626 and 1629, is unique in Turkey, dedicated to the martyr saint and bishop of Izmir, Saint Polycarp, who died in 155/6. Polycarp is the patron saint of our archdiocese and of our church community. The sanctuary, an architectural jewel and treasure trove of frescoes and statues, has always been open to the many visitors and pilgrims who celebrate Mass in it. It is a place where God is present, an important meeting point and a profound expression of our hope. But earthquakes repeatedly strike the city of Izmir, and the Church of Saint Polycarp has not been spared. On October 30th, 2020, and November 3rd, 2022, two earthquakes struck our diocese. 4 of our churches were severely damaged, including the Church of Saint Polycarp. The bell tower was in ruins. The roof was weakened, the dome was partly destroyed, the facade was cracked, the walls were torn. Wherever one looked, there were cracks. Entire pieces of mural components were breaking off or were ready to fall. The church's foundations were also affected. They had moreover been subject to recurrent floods due to a lack of prior maintenance of the drainage system and to the construction of buildings which increased pressure on the groundwater. The water at this point is less than 80 centimeters below the church. Inside, statues were broken. The arches supporting the dome displayed alarming deformation. Several frescoes were disfigured. The task awaiting us was huge: rebuild, repair, give a new life to these places where people worship and gather. But the hope which moved us was stronger than ever. We knew that, despite the difficulties, we could rely on the faith and solidarity of our community and external benefactors. The rebuilding of St. Polycarp's bell tower was one of the first challenges we overcame. We first had to obtain the necessary authorizations, a path strewn with administrative and financial pitfalls. But our determination was unshakable. When we finally obtained the permit to rebuild, we felt immense relief. The bell tower, a symbol of our faith and resilience, was going to rise from its ashes. The rebuilding of St. Polycarp has been a long-term undertaking, requiring complex and meticulous work. We had to reinforce the walls, vaults, and foundations, and restore the altars and frescoes. Each stage was a step towards the rebirth of our church. Our work was not limited to appearance. We probed the depths of St. Polycarp and found that the bell tower rested on the church's internal structure. We had to dig the foundations in the narthex, like archaeologists uncovering buried treasures, and install an iron framework, the backbone of our building. In this way, the bell tower would no longer weigh on the nave in the event of another earthquake. Then the roof was dismantled, revealing the vaults of the 3 naves. Over 50 tons of materials were removed, a true titanic task. The vaults, weakened by time and tremors, were reinforced with a special material applied to a protective net. We also attended to the external walls, silent witnesses of the history of St. Polycarp. Despite their thickness, they displayed signs of weakness. A meticulous pointing was undertaken, sealing the gaps and consolidating the stones. A special mortar, like a repairing balm, was then applied to the wall, covered with a protective mesh. Proximity to the sea, with its groundwater only 80 centimeters below the surface, required us to consolidate the land surrounding the church. Iron and concrete were injected in holes drilled around the church, connecting the whole with a concrete ring. The church interior was not forgotten. The walls were also pointed on the inside, plastered with mortar and reinforced with wire mesh and mortar. The altars, shaken by the earthquake, were dismantled and delicately restored. The main altar and right chapel altar, symbols of our faith and communion, were returned to their place. Under the direction of Mira Lichin, the restoration of the frescoes which adorn the dome above the main altar and the 2 domes above the side altars has begun. A careful cleaning and extensive pointing work were undertaken, giving new life to the colors and details of these works of sacred art. All the window frames worn by time were replaced, allowing natural light to flood back into the church. We hope that one day, magnificent stained glass windows will embellish these openings, bringing a touch of color and spirituality. At the end of this first phase, we can admire the church's new roof, gutters, electrical installation, and lighting, as well as the drainage and paving of the courtyard. However, our task is not yet complete. In the short term, we must complete the front facade, courtyard access steps, and courtyard. Restoration of the frescoes, the real jewel of St. Polycarp, will take many more years. But we trust in God's help and in the generosity of those who support us in this adventure. Today, the Church of Saint Polycarp is standing once again, proud and majestic. It is a testament to our ability to overcome hardship, to rise again after disaster. It is a sign of hope for our community. The Church of Saint Polycarp is much more than a building. It is a symbol of our identity and our history. In this Jubilee year, as pilgrims of hope, we are moving forward step by step, with faith and determination, towards the full rebirth of the Church of Saint Polycarp. The rebirth of the Church of Saint Polycarp is an exceptional human and spiritual adventure. With the help of God and our benefactors, we reached an important milestone. But there is still a long way to go. Today, we extend our heartfelt thanks to all those who have already contributed through their donations to the restoration of Saint Polycarp. Yet we still call on your generosity, your support, your solidarity. Every donation, no matter how small, is another stone in the 10th edifice of our resilience.